There we go. It looks like we are live. Hi, everybody. We have people in three different places today. We have people in, oh my goodness, we've got people in the YouTube live, we've got people in the Facebook live on a couple of different places. And so we are here today in our Sunday healing room. And I'm so happy that you're here and that you have a desire to learn everything there is for you to know about healing and using the latest science, using God's science, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And hang tight because this is going to be an interactive meeting. I would love to hear from you in the chat. I would love to hear from, where you're at. If you feel like giving any of your information about the types of things that you're suffering with, I promise you that I will have a portion of the meeting where I can let you in if you like, and we can talk and we can help you with answering your specific questions about your health needs. All right. Okay. So, if you don't know me, my name is Dorinda Smith. I am known as the Autoimmune Geek. I've been helping people heal from chronic illness, fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease, diabetes, heart disease, even Alzheimer's disease for about 10 years now. And we've got literally thousands of clients that we have taught over the years and people getting really dramatic and awesome results, literally changing their lives. And so, what I want to do first is I want to start off by telling my story. And so, what happened to me is that I was told by my doctors that my autoimmune conditions were extremely severe and that they were terminal. That was 24 years ago. So I'm not supposed to be here right now, according to all of the top specialists that I had. And what I discovered as a medical scientist in autoimmune disease and in immunology myself, what I discovered literally changed everything about how we take care of our health. And I know that this is the missing link for you. It was definitely the missing link for me. And I want to be able to tell you my story and explain that missing link to you today. So by the end of this meeting today, you should be able to understand exactly why you're still suffering, even though you've been to multiple doctors, multiple specialists, even the top clinics in the world, and you're still suffering. Even if you've been to integrative doctors and functional doctors and holistic doctors, I'm also going to speak to that and what they are missing. So let's get started. How in the world do you think that anyone who actually spends years and years of their lives dedicated and obsessed with learning everything there is to know about chronic illnesses, about fibromyalgia, about autoimmune diseases? I spent my life, I spent over $200,000 on my education, 13 years studying everything there is to know at the bachelor's, master's, and PhD level about immunology and autoimmune disease and severe chronic illnesses. But yet, I still ended up living inside my own autoimmune disease, my own chronic illness hell. And I want this question to just sit with you for a minute. This wasn't new territory for me. I wasn't just casually interested in learning everything there is to know about chronic health conditions. I wasn't somebody who just, got sick and then started learning about it, right? I had already spent all my education learning how to be an autoimmune disease research scientist. Scientists are at the top of the top. We're the ones who teach doctors, right? You would think that as an immunotoxicologist studying autoimmune disease, that I would just know everything that there was to know, and therefore I wouldn't have to suffer with my own autoimmune diseases. No, that's not the way it is. And what actually happened was when I got my first diagnosis, it, it crashed my entire world. It crashed my entire world. Because this was my field, this was my work, this was my entire life. I understood everything that we could know about inflammation. I understood the immune system. I understood what happens when toxins affect the way our genes express, when things get in the way and block cellular functioning. I understood all this. I understood the devastation of chronic disease and autoimmune disease on paper, in research, in science, in biochemical mechanisms. I'd written papers about this. So I was not standing outside of this subject with just a peripheral knowledge. I was already living deep in this world. And then after all of that, it happened to me. It wasn't just some, tragic disease diagnosis that happened to someone else. It was now in my body. I need you to imagine what that must have felt like. I was the scientist who now became the patient. I was the woman who I thought I knew it all about autoimmune disease. But now I was told that I had to live with it. That really does something to a person. Because I was no longer analyzing the disease, from a safe distance, just studying it in order to help other people. Now I was waking up in it. Now I was carrying it in my own body. Now I was losing function because of it. The doctors were telling me that I was going to lose my life because of it. I was told that I wouldn't live long enough to see my granddaughter grow up, to see her get married, to see her have children of her own, and I was raising her. I don't know what your particular story is, but I do know that if you're suffering from any kind of chronic symptoms, or if you've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia or an autoimmune disease, or maybe you're still at that place that most people get stuck in where they're just bouncing from specialist to specialist, looking for that elusive diagnosis, looking for an answer to why you feel so terrible. I know that this can be extremely confusing to you because even though I was at the top of my field, it was still confusing to me. And I know that you're probably not the person who just throws caution to the wind and is careless about this. If you're sitting here with me today, you're probably one of those people who really care about finding the answer, right? You're not just ignoring your body. You know, you're not lazy, you're not stupid, you're not weak, you're not, any of those things. You're not a hypochondriac. You have real problems, things that you know your body is telling you that are wrong, and yet the doctors cannot find the answer for you. Or worse, they're telling you that your labs are normal and they think you just need a Xanax. I know. I know. And I know that you've read everything. I know that you've been up at 3 o'clock in the morning searching Dr. Google. I know that you've had to live with those fears of the things that you read. I know you've prayed about this. I know you've asked God for the answers. And I know that you're here today because God is answering that prayer for you right now. Because I did find my answer, and I have been able to help thousands of people to find their answers. And so I know that this message is reaching you at the right time, that God wanted it to find you. Yeah. But I know where you've been. I know that you've had to pay doctor after doctor after doctor. I know that you've taken all of their big pharma drugs and you've tried this and you've tried that. And maybe you've even gone as far as to try other alternative routes as well. I know that you've probably, maybe you've worked with a functional doctor, maybe you've worked with a naturopath, maybe you've tried different diets that you see on the internet. Maybe you've bought some of those internet programs where they give you nice protocols and they try to help you get started, right? Maybe you've really changed your diet dramatically and you notice that things did get better, but not enough. Not enough. Things are still missing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here on a Sunday afternoon. Got a froggy in my throat. So I want to ask you this directly. Are you one of those people who you've been searching, you've been trying, you've been doing everything? You think you've tried everything, you've done everything the doctor has told you? Because if you have, if you think you have, I want you to know that this matters. Because if you've been trying and you're still not getting the kind of results that you expected, then I want to say something powerful and strong to you today. Maybe the issue is not your effort. Okay? Maybe the mistake is with the map that you're following. This is one of the biggest truths that I want to give you tonight. Because if the roadmap you've been given could fix this, you still wouldn't be on the road searching. You wouldn't be right here with me today. I want to say that again slower. If the map that the experts have given you to follow your way out of this problem has not worked, it's not your fault. You were given a map that cannot heal you, or can maybe only partially heal you. And that's the problem. The problem is not you. The problem is not that you're broken or that God didn't design you to heal or that once you have a diagnosis, that's it. It's too late. It's all over. You're broken. You cannot reverse this. There's nothing you can do except just live with it. All those things are no longer true according to the latest science. But doctors are still telling people this today. It should not be happening. And I know that maybe 5 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to go, oh my God, how many lives were lost because doctors are operating on average 17 years behind the latest science. And that's a fact. That's a fact. And in my ebook that I would love to send to you, I've got all of these studies so that you can read them yourselves and you can see. We know what the root causes of chronic illnesses are now. We know what causes fibromyalgia scientifically. We know what causes chronic disease symptoms. We know what causes autoimmune disease. And we also know that they are preventable, number one, and reversible to a great extent. Okay? And so keep listening because I've got so much to teach you today. By the end of our Sunday healing meeting, I want you to be so filled with hope, so excited about what you can do for your own health and how you can literally change your life for the better. How you can align with God's design and help your body to live the way God designed your body to live without all of these crazy symptoms and limitations, without the continued labeling of an autoimmune disease that we now know can be mostly reversible. Yes, even for you, even for someone like me. So I want you to stop blaming yourself. I want you to stop questioning your ability to heal. Stop believing the old school medical paradigm that's 30 years old that says that you're incurable. That is no longer true, especially now that we've got the advanced sciences of cellular regeneration. Holy smokes. You guys don't know what you don't know, and I'm about to teach you today. I want you instead to start questioning who you were taught to trust. Just because a doctor told you that you're incurable and this is a lifelong disease that all you can do is manage the symptoms with big pharma does not mean that that is still true today. The science says otherwise. So I want to jump back into my story because I started getting really, really sick around the first year of my PhD work. And truth be known, I had been chronically ill with several different problems since the time I was 12 years old. And so here I am in college, and I start to get really sick. And I mean really sick. Not just, oh, here's my normal symptoms that everybody just told me was genetic and my mom had them, so I'll have them too, blah, 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 which again is no longer scientifically true. But now I was really starting to come up against a brick wall. And finally, the diagnoses came. And when the diagnoses did come, I was luckier than most because most people have to wait an average of 5 to 7 years to get a clear diagnosis as to what is wrong with their body. I only had to wait 3 years. And so I was luckier than most. Um, but when all was said and done, over the course of a couple of years, I was actually diagnosed with 7 autoimmune diseases and severe fibromyalgia. 7. 7 conditions that were supposed to explain why my body was breaking down, why my body was literally stopping me from doing everything that I knew God called me to do. 7 reasons that I was taught that I need to accept now. Something had gone fundamentally wrong in my body. I was diagnosed with severe fibromyalgia and systemic sclerosis first. And they told me that if I was lucky, I would have maybe about 10 years to live. And during those 10 years, they would be difficult years, that they would do everything they could with the medications that they had to slow the progression of the disease. But eventually, I had to accept the fact that systemic sclerosis or scleroderma is progressive, just like all autoimmune diseases I was taught are progressive, that you can't really stop them. You can only slow them down, and eventually they would catch up with you and you would die of something really horrible. And in my case, systemic sclerosis, basically, you usually die of severe lung complications, so you can't breathe. And that thought scared the bejeebers out of me, putting it nicely. It really did. Like, I couldn't even think about it because it would just send me right into a panic every time I did. But shortly after that, I was diagnosed with thyroiditis, Hashimoto's. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel disease, which then they diagnosed as Crohn's disease. I had severe arthritis, and it expressed as an acute, fast developing degenerative disease in most of the joints in my body. Then they diagnosed me with mixed connective tissue disease, and then they changed that to lupus. Finally, I was diagnosed with Addison's disease on top of everything else, but I learned that the reason why I developed the Addison's disease was because of the high-dose prednisone and other immunosuppressive drugs that they put me on. So the medication actually caused the worsening of my disease processes. And even though they had me on a cocktail of anywhere between 12 and 20 medications per day, depending on how bad the day was, they said I had to keep taking these, otherwise I would die a lot faster. And so these were the medications that were supposed to help me with my symptoms on a day-to-day basis and keep me alive longer. And what I actually learned later was that they were actually part of the root cause of my disease as my disease progressed. I want you to know how insane that is. Our medical system is really backward. Now, I'm not saying it's all wrong, but I am a very loud whistleblower now after everything that I've been through and after all the suffering that I have seen my clients and even my practitioner friends' clients go through. I am fighting angry A lot needs to change in our medical system. So I want you to know that even though I was on all those different meds all those years, I still continued to progress. I still continued to get worse. And, this geek brain that I had, that, that I was gifted with by God, that used to get straight A's with barely even studying, that could remember everything, right? I was a smart cookie. And yet my brain started really feeling like it was turning to mush. I honestly was afraid that I was developing early onset Alzheimer's because of how bad it was. I couldn't remember words. My thoughts disappeared all the time. Um, I couldn't remember how to turn off an alarm clock. I couldn't remember my dog's name. It was scary. It was really scary. And I want to bring you forward. This was a long time ago, and I'm no longer like that. Today, I've been healed for 10 years, and my brain is back. My body is back. And so, even though it was as bad as it was, I want you to know, even if you're as bad as I was, you can still get better. And it's amazing how much better that you can get. You can get your life back and then some. You really can with the science that we have today. So, all the different symptoms that I had to suffer with, that horrible fatigue, that feeling of being so exhausted, but at the same time, you're so wired that every little thing triggers you physically, like you startle instantly. Um, I, my hormones were an absolute disaster. I mean, the mood swings, even though I was a strong Christian, I loved the Lord. I practiced. I read my Bible. Right? I loved people. Still, I felt guilty because my moods were absolutely all over the place, all over the place. And my pain was constant, just, never relenting all over my body. And traveling pains, like it would be a migraine, and then it would be stomach upset, and then it would be nerve pain, and then it would be in my knee, and then it would be in my foot, and then it would be in my side, and then it would be in my arm. And I felt like a walking hypochondriac. I felt like if people asked me, "How are you?" Like if it was a good day and I actually could go to church, and if people said, "Well, how are you?" I couldn't really tell them because I knew they wouldn't believe me. And I knew that they would think that I was just complaining or I was weak somehow. And I could tell there were certain people who really believed that. Certain people who would, if you did start to tell them, if you were having a bad day and you did start to get a little vulnerable and tell them how bad you felt, you would hear things like, "Oh, honey, you just need to learn how to push through." And so when I tell you I understand chronic illness, when I tell you I get the emotions, when I tell you I get the physical pain, I mean it. I understand. I've heard all the same horrible comments that you've heard from family, from people you love, from well meaning people who are really just trying to help, but they don't have a clue, even from your pastors. I know. I know. I've been there. And I want you to know that there's a way out because I lived like this and basically accepted it for about 14 years before I found my way out. And I want you to know that the different physical symptoms, the different, um, even the emotional symptoms, um, those weren't the most devastating part of having a chronic illness. For me, at least, and you tell me how you feel, but for me, at least, and for a lot of my clients, the most devastating part of having a chronic illness was the fact that it literally shifted the message of my life. There was a tone that just changed. Um, my own expectations
Power off.
of my life changed. That's just my speaker in the background.
Line in mode.
You know, um, I literally believed everything that I was taught in school and everything that my specialists were telling me at the time, which was, oh, well, this is genetic. It's not. You can fix those things. This is incurable. It's not. You can fix it. This is progressive. Yeah, it's progressive if you don't do anything about it. That's true. Yeah. These diseases will kill us if we don't do the right things and we don't learn how to do the right things. But they don't have to be progressive. They are reversible if you just learned how. Um, but of course, I was just taught this is something you're just going to manage. Um, and we're going to slow this down as best we possibly can with all these different medications. And every time you have another symptom, we're going to throw another medication at you. Of course, that makes Big Pharma a lot of money, but I'm going to let that go for now. Maybe for another Sunday, we'll get into the political side of all this. Not today. Today, I want to focus on you and you getting the help that you need. I was led to believe that this is something that you just have to live with. So that was the shift. The shift was this is my new normal. This is something that is going to kill me young, which means there isn't anything that I can do to change that. That was the moment when I really realized that. I realized that we're not talking about restoring my health. What we were really talking about now was managing my slow decline towards death. That's a completely different thought. It's a completely different way to live. And that's what our medical system teaches when you have a chronic illness or an autoimmune disease. And that was really a horrifying moment for me, because that whole message sounds so professional. It sounds logical. It sounds polished. When you learn it in school, like I did, or when a specialist is telling you that you have this specific diagnosis and now you're broken, you're incurable, and we're just going to manage this for the rest of your life, and we're going to make it as easy on you as possible, but you will die from this. It sounds intelligent when they call it idiopathic, which means they're idiots and they don't know what's causing this. Sorry, that's my joke, but it's the truth. It's basically the truth. It's just that they don't know what's causing it. Because now scientists do know what's causing it. But here's the hardest part, you guys. beneath all those polished words is a person like me or you who has to just surrender, who literally just has to accept, and who needs to resign their lives to being something less than, to being, to having a smaller life now, to not being able to do everything that you had planned to do with your life. For me, having 7 autoimmune diseases, it literally just dramatically lowered my expectations. And that was not the way I lived my life up until that point. You know, I mean, you don't push to get a master's and a PhD, and you don't plan your life so that you can help people and you can discover things and you you don't bust butt your whole life to be that kind of a person, than to have to just resign it all and just give it all up and just accept that now you're limited. And I know that there's people out there listening to me right now who maybe you didn't go through exactly my same diagnoses, but it doesn't matter. You need to know that it doesn't matter. If a doctor or a professional has told you that you're incurable for some reason, and it's, one of the autoimmune diseases, or if it's fibromyalgia, or if it's, a chronic heart condition, right? Science knows so much more now. And we know that most of these types of illnesses are both preventable and reversible now to a great extent. You can feel amazingly better. Some people get all the way better. Some people get better than they were before, and it just depends on a lot of things. But yeah, you can certainly feel better than you do today. That is a fact now in 2026. That's a fact. But most people don't even know that because doctors are still operating 17 years behind the latest science. And I thank God that we do have some new political things happening right now with RFK Jr. and some of the things that he's doing in our government. But wow, it is such a small movement when we've known about these things for over 20 years. And there is so much that needs to be done. And so this is why I'm called to do what I do. This is why you're listening to me today. And I hope that you continue listening to me, because there really is so much that you can do. There's so much that you don't know. And it's my job to teach it to you. That's my calling as a scientist. And so it doesn't matter what that disease diagnosis is. If it's one of these chronic illnesses that we now know are reversible, I know that you've been through this same feeling that I've been through. Because in the beginning, the conversation goes from, okay, I've got this thing now. How do I fix it? Where do I find all the answers? I'm just going to be constantly looking up Google, and I'm just going to learn everything I can because I know that I'm going to beat this thing. How do I restore cellular functioning? How do I do all these things? And what most people hear from the doctors is that, no, you really can't. You can help not to trigger yourself by eating a better diet, but that's about all you can do. That's what people are hearing. And that is just not the full truth. And sadly, what starts to happen over time, and it happened to me, and I'm sure many people listening to me, it's happened to you because I talk to people all day, every day. And I hear the resignation in their voice because, this happens slowly over time sometimes without anyone even ever saying it directly to you. But the conversation goes from, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can. I'm going to do everything I can about this. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to take my medication and my medication is going to help. And, you go from being hopeful to realizing that, oh, everyone's just telling me that I'm broken, that I'm incurable, that all I can do is manage this. Um, Now, how do I cope with the emotions of the fact that I'm no longer the person that I was before? This starts to happen to you slowly over time if you've been in chronic illness for any length of time. And, that's why we have Facebook groups that are loaded with people who, it's sad, it makes me cry. It honestly does. People who are in such a victim mindset at this point because they've been suffering for so long that they no longer believe that there's anything that they can do to help themselves. And so they've just resigned their lives to being extremely limited. And that's exactly where Satan wants us. He wants us limited. He does not want us living up to the calling that God created. He does not want us living in our full purpose and, and being vibrant and energetic and loving and helping people and doing the work that God created us to do. Satan does not want that. And so if he can make us believe that we're broken, that we're incurable, that we just have to take our medications, that all we can do is manage this, then he's got us right in the palm of his hand. And this is why I'm called to speak to you today, because that is not the life that God created you for. Oh no. Oh no, it's not. And so today I'm going to teach you that there is so much more for you. There is so much more. And so if you've ever felt that shift in your life, I want to restore you today. I don't want to just restore your physical health. I want to restore you to a place where you are lifted up, where you can rise up out of the pit of chronic illness, where you can actually get that spark of hope and realize that you can be like me. You can be like our clients and my practitioner friends, their clients, right? We're all doing a beautiful work for the Lord, helping people to heal because we need you, right? And God wants you healed. You were created for much more than being limited by a chronic illness that we now know is reversible. And the only difference between people like me and people like you, me being, yeah, a person who's gone through some pretty extreme suffering, but who has come out of it, and I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my entire life. And the difference between that and you right now, if you're still suffering, the only difference is the fact that I know a little bit more about this than you do, right? That's that's really the only difference. Well, and maybe the fact that I was willing to apply that knowledge. And I was going to apply it gung ho, baby. I was not going to be limited if science said I didn't have to be. I was going to get my life back. I was going to give it my all. And that's what I did. And that's why I'm sitting in front of you today. And so I want you to hear the truth that when experts, time and time and time again, keep telling you that this isn't about healing anymore, that there's been a shift now, and now it's about managing your illness, managing your symptoms. I want you to get a little bit upset about that because it's not the full truth and it's limiting your life. It's limiting your future, and you do not have to believe those lies any longer after today. Today, I want to be able to give you a plan of action so that you can actually learn what I know and what our clients know, and you can actually start rising up and start making real significant changes in your day-to-day symptoms. And eventually, the more you learn, you will beat your disease. That's my goal for you today. And so I told you that I suffered with about 14 years of disability. And I mean disability. I mean, I couldn't go to the grocery store by myself. I mean, I was that lady who was over 100 pounds overweight in the little scooter in Walmart who couldn't get up out of the scooter to reach her own things off the top shelf. Okay, that I had to have someone drive me to the store because sometimes I would get so weak that I couldn't drive myself home. Okay, to go from that and to live like that for 14 years before I found my answer. I just want you to know that this wasn't just a passing thing for me. This wasn't just a, oh yeah, I got sick for a little while, then I healed. Okay, I was sick with chronic disease symptoms from the time I was 12 years old until the time I learned how to heal. I was 53. How many decades is that? I didn't finally get my diagnoses until later. You know, all those different chronic symptoms finally caught up, and then they were able to give me those 7 autoimmune disease diagnoses. But I was literally sick from the time I was 12 years old to the time I started learning how to heal when I was in my early 50s. So look, if I can do this, so can you. Okay? You really can. So I want you to know that this wasn't just a fly-by-night thing, that it wasn't just a simple thing that, oh, I was lucky, I just healed. It was just a small thing in me. And you are, of course, so much worse, and so therefore you can't heal. Please don't believe that lie because it's just not true. People worse than me have healed. People with MS in wheelchairs have gotten out of their wheelchairs. And this is not, you know, just a zap from God and an instant miracle from God. This is them learning how to apply the new science. By the way, it's God's science because all true science is from God. Of course, God created everything. Science is of God, right? So God can either heal you with a miracle if he chooses to, or he can bring you through the fire. And, you know, we know what God likes to do. He knows that it's for our good that we will learn a lot if he brings us through the fire. And so he allows us to go through what I call the Joseph years, right? You know the story of Joseph. You know that, oh my goodness, he was falsely accused. He was destined for great things, but boy, his brothers hated him, and he just had to deal with so many awful things. And then he was falsely accused of rape, and then he went to jail when it wasn't his fault, and just, oh my gosh. And years and years and years of living in a dungeon and being forgotten, and he thought God forgot him, but he never forgot God. He stayed faithful and true. And I'm sure he went through some really horrible emotions throughout that time, just like I did in my Joseph years, just like you have. And, maybe you're still going through those years right now. And that's why you're here. And just like God brought Joseph out, and just like God brought me out, God will bring you out of this if you just learn how to do it. Okay? And yes, you can. And don't you dare believe the lie of evil that you cannot do this, because if I can do it, so can you. And, you know, throughout all those years of my Joseph years, I didn't know then what I know now, obviously. But I didn't know how Satan had me held in a trap. Because I was believing every single thing that I was taught at the master's degree level, at the PhD level. I believed every single thing that I was taught about autoimmune disease, which basically was that you had to live on Big Pharma and you were going to die. Why would I believe anything else? I was taught, by the brightest minds there are at the highest level of science. I was taught at Duke University and at the NIH. Why would I believe anything else? And yet, it was wrong. There was more. Even then, when I was in school, there was more. And that science was suppressed from me being able to learn it. When we have a Sunday meeting and I talk about political things, you'll hear me talk about that in the future. But for today, I want you to know that I get it. The loss of respect from your family and friends when you live with a chronic illness, and the grief that you feel because you feel like you're losing yourself, and you feel like your life is so extremely small now and so limited. And I know that grief, it kind of comes in waves, you know? It comes in like little bits and pieces. You don't always see, you can't, when you're in the middle of it, you just sometimes, and you're so loaded with chronic illness, your brain is so fried anyway when you don't feel good all the time that you just don't see things as clearly, and it's real easy for Satan to put you in that victim mode and put you in that trap. And you can't help but feel anxious and depressed about your condition. That's very real. That's very real. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're just anxious or just depressed. For crying out loud, of course you are. You've had all these people in white coats tell you that you're incurable, or that they can't find what's wrong with you, or they don't believe there's anything wrong with you because your labs look normal. Yeah! You feel like absolute crap all the time. You don't have any control over your health. You don't have any control over your life anymore. Of course you're anxious and depressed. Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? So of course you feel this way. That's just normal. And no, you don't need a and no, you don't need a Prozac. You need to learn how to fix this. You need to learn how to actually take control and get out of the cage that Satan has you stuck in. That's what you need to learn how to do. Because you are literally grieving the version of yourself that you know you used to be, right? You used to be strong, you used to be capable, you used to be vibrant, you used to be energetic, you used to be joyful and peaceful and hopeful and happy. And now living under the oppressive, daily, constant, 24/7 weight of your symptoms, over time, you get battle weary. You're just tired. And, I know that if you're anything like me, you're not just sitting there doing nothing about this. And this is where it gets really hard, okay? Because, me as a medical scientist in the field of autoimmune disease, as an immunotoxicologist, man, I knew my stuff. And yet, everything that I was doing, everything that I was taught, from the pharmaceutical side of things, of course, I was just getting worse. The medicines weren't really helping. They would help for a little while. And then they'd have to change them up again because then they wouldn't help anymore. And then they'd have to give me more medications because of all the side effects that those medications caused. I mean, what an insane freaking roller coaster ride. I know. Years from now, not very long from now, because we're learning so fast now, we're going to look at our conventional medical system and the way they took care of chronic illness, and we're just going to shake our heads and be thoroughly embarrassed by what we believed. Because the big pharma way ain't it. It's not. It's literally making us worse. And I'm not totally against big pharma. I'm just really against big pharma when it comes to living and just managing symptoms, when there is so much more that we can do at the root cause level so that we don't need the medications at all anymore. And now I'm getting fired. It's about this time in telling my story that I get really fired up because it's such a lie that doctors are being taught. I mean, it's a lie from the top down. And so it's time to wake up, folks. It really is. Because one of the hardest parts of having a chronic illness is that you are suffering even though you feel like you're doing everything you can possibly do. I mean, unless you've already given up. And there's a lot of people out there who just give up and they don't care anymore. And they just, they don't try anymore. They just eat whatever they want. And, and I had become that person too. So please don't hear me judge you. Do not hear me judge you, because I had become that person too. I was over 100 pounds overweight. Part of that was the medications that they had me on, but part of it was just because I was so in such a bad place that I just ate anything I wanted all the time. It didn't matter. I wasn't trying to be really healthy at that point. I did in the beginning, but not after a while. So please don't hear me judge you. I'm just telling you that there is a better way, because I've been there and it's a really horrible place to live, and I don't want you there. I think that's really the hardest part. I had a wonderful, wonderful client the other day. Like a brand new person who was, had not been working with me, say to me, "I'm just so tired. I've tried everything. I have a wonderful naturopathic doctor that I'm working with. And yes, I have I have been able to reverse some things, but some things are still bad. And yes, I eat a perfect diet. Yes, I've tried everything. Yes, I've tried every supplement, every protocol, whatever. But yet, when I analyzed, and just a little bit of analyzation, when I analyzed whether he had done some of the newer things that we know that we can do now to help people, he hadn't done any of them. Yet he believed that he had done everything. And so in his mind, he felt that the battle is over. There's nothing more I can do, and I don't even want to try anymore. I would just rather just, okay, accept it and, you know, let's go to heaven. Let's be done. And, here I was saying, wow, because he was so battle beaten by the battle of chronic illness, that he just started believing that he was defeated and that there was nothing else that he could do. And of course, that's a lie. That's not the truth. It's not the truth, because I was able to identify several things that he's never done. And big things, really big things, things that move the needle, things that no one had ever taught him. And he just didn't know about them. That's all. He just didn't know about them because he's not in the front lines of this battle like a scientist like me is, right? And so he just didn't know. He didn't know what he didn't know, you know? So maybe you're in that same place. Maybe, maybe this is hitting home for you too. And I know how that feels because I was there. So again, please don't hear me judge you on this, but do hear me say this. If you think you're doing everything right, and yet you're still searching for answers, and not everything has changed the way you think it should have, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you and that you can't heal. That's a leap to the wrong conclusion, because that's not a scientific fact. That's only what you're believing because of your experience, and you've been told that you're incurable by people in white coats. So, of course, you're putting two and two together and you're believing things that are not true. Just because you think you're doing everything does not mean that you are. And if I know anything, I have never, in 10 years of helping people to heal, I have never once heard a person say, I've done everything, and then have it be true, according to the newest science, at least. I've seen them do many, many, many things, but most of the time, they're working on the wrong roadmap. They are exhausting themselves and putting themselves into a position of believing something that's not true because they're following the wrong roadmap. Okay? If you're following the wrong map and you're trying to get to a particular place, you're probably not going to get there. And so this is pretty important for you to hear this. And I want to talk to you about an amazing turning point, because for me, after all the diagnoses, after all the years, all the disability, all the pain, all the suffering, all the hospital trips back and forth, you know, I, all the confusion. Um, I had lived in my diagnosis for 14 years. And that was longer than what they told me I would probably live. But I was very, very, very ill. And I had been in the worst flare I'd ever felt in my life. And I'd been through some hell with my illness, but I'd never felt anything like this. And I had been there for about 2 weeks and I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. The pain was so severe. I was on all my medications, including 3 really powerful pain medications, and I could not get the pain to go away no matter what. It was horrible. It was, the kind of pain where all I could do was like imagine myself being held by Jesus and being rocked and being told how much he loved me and that everything was going to be okay and that he was taking care of me even in the midst of the pain and everything was going to be okay. Everything was going to be okay. And that was the level of pain that I was in. And then the thought occurred to me. And I remember thinking it in a way that was really kind of weird, almost as though I was kind of outside myself thinking it. But the thought occurred to me that, oh, I was only supposed to live 10 years. I've lived 14 years with this. This must be what it feels like to die of an autoimmune disease. Crazy, right? That's how bad I was. And so I was laying there and I had to get up to go to the bathroom and I had to walk all the way down the hall to get to the bathroom. And I was in the house by myself. Jana was in school, my granddaughter Jana, and my sister was not home. She was working. So I was there at the house by myself. And so finally, couldn't hold it anymore. I had to get up and go to the restroom. And I got there and I was walking back when I collapsed. And I was still awake, but my body was just like done. And so I'm laying on the floor and I couldn't get up and I just cried out to the Lord. I said, please don't take me yet. I still want to be here. I still want to raise Jana and I'm all she's got and I need to be here for her. And this will kill her. Please don't take me. And then I just yelled out to him. I said, I'm a scientist, for crying out loud. If I've missed anything about this, if there's anything I can do about this, please show me. And I cried, I laid there for a while and I cried and for a long time. And finally I felt like I could get up and get into my bed. And so I did. And when I did, my TV was on. My TV that was over my bed was on. And on the screen was something really strange. And it said scleroderma, which was my main diagnosis, and functional medicine. And I didn't even know what functional medicine was. Of course, nowadays everybody knows what functional medicine is, but I didn't even know what it was. And I thought it was just some, weird natural woo-woo thing, which a lot of people still believe. And I literally just said, whatever. And I passed it up. And I was just kind of laying there in a stupor in my bed. And I was just kind of, clicking the channels and just trying to distract myself with the TV. and the Holy Spirit would not let it go. And, if you're a Christian and you hear from the Holy Spirit and you know when he's talking to you, you don't necessarily hear an audible voice, but you know when he's telling you something. You just know that you know. And in this moment, the Holy Spirit was literally telling me, go back and watch that video. And I didn't listen, and I didn't listen, and I didn't listen for about an hour. And then finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. And I out loud said, all right, I will watch the darn video. I mean, that's how upsetting it was. And I just felt like he's telling me, go watch that video. And I was so darn arrogant about, well, I'm a scientist and I know it all. And there's nothing to this silly, whatever it is, functional medicine. Yeah, right. I mean, when they create scientists in school, they make us arrogant like that. They tell us there's nothing else but the pharmaceutical method. We're trained that way and we get brainwashed real good, real good. And that's what happened to me too. So there I was thinking, no, this is just ridiculous. And what is this stupid stuff? And so I went and I watched it. And I want to tell you that within the first 5 minutes, this video started showing me research study after research study after research study after research study that proved some of the discoveries about my particular illness, scleroderma. But what I later learned was it wasn't just for scleroderma, it was for most chronic diseases and all autoimmune diseases and fibromyalgia, even heart disease, diabetes, even mental illnesses, is what I later found out, that there were many root causes that have already been discovered. And when people actually started working at the root cause level, and they started, instead of just, working at the symptom level, when they actually started doing something about those underlying deeper root causes at the genetic level, at the cellular level, wow, people turned their lives around. People got amazingly better. And back then, that video, it's really old now. And now the science has progressed, like now scientists in precision healthcare, like what I do, we look back at the basics of functional medicine and we say, well, thank you. Those were just the baby steps of what we know now. But sadly, there's still a lot of functional medicine practitioners and naturopaths and holistic doctors who are still practicing the old school way when there is so much more that you can do, And then there are those, like you can't, if you get stuck in the chronic illness algorithm online, you will see things all over Instagram and Facebook and YouTube that are just all about those gurus who camp in one particular root cause category. And you know who I'm talking about, and you know what I'm talking about when someone starts saying, okay, all chronic illness is caused by parasites, period. That's it. That's all it is. All chronic illness and autoimmune disease and fibromyalgia, all these things, it's all caused by Epstein-Barr virus. It's all caused by Lyme disease. It's all caused by your food. Only your food. Only your food. Nothing else. Nothing else. And what you need to know is that it's a lot of things and it's different for different people. And you need to work with someone who understands that. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in that camp and you're going to try to do a parasite cleanse and you're going to think, oh, this is going to cure you. And then when it doesn't, you're going to get back into that place of exactly where Satan wants you. And you're going to go, oh, See, it must be true that I am incurable and there isn't anything that I can do. And none of these protocols really work. It's just all a farce, and I'm wasting my money and I'm wasting my time, and I need to just accept that I'm going to be sick. I hope you're hearing me loud and clear. I hope I'm making a lot of sense. So I want you to know that that baby step video, that baby step functional medicine video was the beginning of the Lord sparking in me the scientist that he created me to be in the first place, right? And all my training kicked in, and I said, "Oh, holy smokes." And within the first 5 minutes of watching that video, I looked up and I cried and I said, "Thank you, Lord," because I knew that he had answered that desperate prayer when I collapsed on the floor just a short time before. When I said, "If there's anything that I've missed, I'm a scientist, for crying out loud." If there's anything I've missed, please show me. I knew, and I still know today, over 10 years later, that he answered my prayer. That little baby functional medicine video, even though it didn't have everything I needed in it, it was the beginning. And from there, the Lord has taken me on this pretty incredible life journey where I not only was able to heal and heal all my 7 autoimmune diseases and completely reverse my fibromyalgia. There's no more pain. There's no more symptoms. There's no more trigger points. There's no more nerve problems. There's no more exhaustion. There's no more wild symptoms that happen for no reason, or we think they happen for no reason. They just come out of the blue and control your life. There's no more of that. And there hasn't been any of that for 10 years now. And I was able to get off of all of those pharmaceutical medications because I healed at the root cause level. And I want you to know, again, that's the whole reason why we're sitting here today. You can have that hope too. You can do this too, because when I learned, and yeah, it took me some time, okay? It wasn't an instant fix or anything like that. And then I continued learning over the years as I started helping people as well. And as I got more and more precision medicine training. Wow. What we know today about the root causes, and sadly, we know that even the functional medicine people are still not up to speed. It's bad enough that conventional medicine is operating on average 17 years behind the latest science. But even a lot of functional practitioners are not using all the advanced science that is available today. And that's why you need a scientist on your healthcare team. That's why you need, that's why God put people like me in the world, is because we're the ones who are absolutely obsessed with learning what we do, right? My whole life is a chronic obsession about the biochemistry of your immune system and how it works and why it may fail. And it's not your immune system failing, by the way. This is something that you need to learn. It's the fact that what's happening to you in your environment, many, many different root causes, are affecting your immune system. And what's happening is your immune system is simply speaking to you and telling you that it has needs that are not being fulfilled. So I want to get to that next. I want you to know that your body is, if you're having multiple symptoms, this is just your body communicating to you and letting you know that something is wrong. It's the innate thing that God put in you to make you change, right? The problem is that we don't get the answers that we need from our medical professionals. And so then we get stuck in that horrible trap thinking that we can't do anything about this when it's just not true. But your body is waiting for the right support for you to be able to follow the right roadmap for you, not for me, not for, the next person over here or the next person over there, but the roadmap that your specific genetics, your specific cellular needs have, your specific root causes have, your specific toxicities, your hormones. You need a scientist on your team who understands the holistic biochemical way that your body works and how all of these things are intricately linked together. And that you need to build up first, not simply kill. And I want you to hear that loud and clear. This is the mistake that conventional medicine makes. Conventional medicine just wants to shut down the immune system from speaking. Stop the symptom. Stop the inflammation. Stop it. That's what most pharmaceuticals are doing. Just stop the symptom. Don't do anything about the inflammation that's causing the symptom in the first place. Don't do anything about why your immune system is so upset. Don't do anything about any of that. Just tell the immune system to shut up so you won't have the symptom anymore. And even if that big pharma punch in the face to your immune system is going to make you worse, it doesn't matter. You'll feel better instantly, or, at least it'll help. At least you think it's going to help. And so, okay, good enough. Pop your ibuprofen, pop your painkiller, pop your prednisone, pop your immune modulator if you've got a really severe autoimmune disease. I know you know what I'm talking about. Okay. But I want you to know that your body is not stupid. Your immune system was designed to heal you. If it isn't, and if it's screaming at you, there's a reason. There's several reasons. And you can take control over those reasons. Number one, you can find those reasons within just a few weeks with the advanced testing that scientists have today. A few weeks. A few weeks. And you can have the answers. Why are you suffering? If that's the fact. And I'm not sitting here blowing smoke and lying to you. Precision healthcare practitioners are not charlatans. We're not out there just trying to steal your money. As a matter of fact, ministries like mine, we don't make hardly any money. We're out there helping people at the most affordable way we possibly can, right? We're on a mission. So, don't keep believing the lies of the enemy, because your body is not broken. It's just been waiting for the right roadmap. That's what it is. And if you've been using the wrong map, like say you want to drive from California to New York, but the map that you have only takes you to Nebraska. Or worse, maybe the map that you have, and I would liken this to conventional medicine, maybe the map that you have for chronic illness takes you to Alaska or takes you to the Philippines. Well, that's not making you any better. That's not getting you to New York, is it? And sadly, even a lot of the alternative methods, while they're better, they're getting you from California to Nebraska at least. They're still leaving you stuck in Nebraska. You're not making it to New York with that map. You need a better roadmap. You need the map that actually precisely tells you step by step how to drive from California all the way through to Nebraska and then on to Ohio and then on to New York. And that way of driving needs to be specific for you, not for anyone else. Okay? This is how people get well. This is how I got well. The roadmap for getting you well has to take into account your genetics, your specific cellular needs, your specific gut health needs, and all those cells that are in there, your hormones, your immune system, how it's functioning, your toxicities and those levels, and what you need to do to move those out. And it needs to be done in the right timing. If it's not done in the right timing, and this is a critical mistake that medicine absolutely, conventional medicine has wrong, because they're just going for, shutting your immune system up or just covering up a symptom. They're not doing anything about the root cause with all those big pharma medications for the most part. Even the immune modulators, they are lowering inflammation while damaging your immune system at the same time. And so how is your immune system supposed to be strong enough to take care of you for any other reason? And that's why the package inserts for those drugs say that, well, sadly, you'll help some of your symptoms of autoimmune disease, but you'll develop cancer or leukemia or something really awful like that. Some kind of bloodborne illness. Insane, right? That's insanity, right? That's the big pharma way. We're not doing this the big pharma way anymore, right? And I'm not saying that you can't use some of those medications for a while and they can't be, for some good uses to help while you're working on your root causes, because that can be true, okay? But if you're literally just living on the big pharma roller coaster for your chronic illness or your autoimmune disease or your fibromyalgia, wow. Are you stuck in the trap of Satan, and are you stuck in a big, fat, ugly lie that you need to be angry about? You need to understand what those drugs are doing to you, that they are literally making you worse while they do nothing about the underlying inflammatory cause of your disease. Hear it loud and clear. I said it out loud because it's the God's honest truth according to the newest science. And that's why I'm a bold whistleblower about this. And why? Because you're a unique child of God. You were created to do amazing things. You were not created to be limited and stuck in a trap with reversible chronic illnesses. You were not. You were not created for that. You were created for so much more. And God does not want you stuck in this when He has already given us the science to reverse it. So I'm coming to the end of my talk here. There's so much more that I want to tell you, but it'll have to be for another Sunday. So I do invite you to come back if you're registered. If you're not registered, oh my goodness, and you're watching this on a live stream, make sure that you go to risehealchallenge.com. Rise, R-I-S-E, heal, HEAL, challenge.com. Make sure you're registered for these Sunday meetings because we're going to teach you so much every Sunday. And yeah, I know I get my preaching on, but this is fun for me. This is this is just giving you the truth that you need to hear. So I want you to know that that even if your functional, your holistic, your naturopathic doctor, even if they're still giving you natural band-aids, even if they're still doing some good work, they're getting you from California to Nebraska at least, right? They're cleaning up your gut, and maybe they're helping you with some parasites, and maybe they're giving you some really good nutrition and some at least better anti-inflammatory nutrition, and they're helping you with cleaning up the gut, and maybe giving you some of those missing puzzle pieces back. If you're still here in my Sunday meeting, then obviously they haven't taken you to New York. You're still kind of stuck in Nebraska, aren't you? And we don't want you there, right? So there is more, is what I'm telling you. There is so much more. I wish I knew, if somebody knows how to technically keep your speaker from turning off in the middle of your podcast, please let me know. Because that's what that thing keeps doing. That's my speaker, and it just recycles like every 45 minutes or something and turns itself off. All right. So I've talked a little bit about the fact that you need to have a precision roadmap. I've talked about the fact that these roadmaps are absolutely available to you with the science that we have today. That those roadmaps need to be precision. It can't just be a generic map that takes you from California to New York. Okay. It needs to be a roadmap that's very specific for you. Like you want to make sure certain things, certain, milestones are hit along the way because those are your specific root causes, right? And they're different. Your unique set of genetic, cellular, toxic, traumatic, hormonal root causes, all the different types of root causes that we know of today, they are different for you than everyone else. And so, if you're following a roadmap that just looks like a generic detox that you found online, please stop that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because you're doing a killing protocol when your cells don't have everything they need to go into battle yet. And I want you to hear this loud and clear. This is one of the major mistakes that all conventional doctors and even functional and holistic and naturopathic doctors make is they're just going for the kill, and they're just trying to clean up the gut and do the detox work before they have strengthened you at your foundational levels, which are the genetic and the cellular levels. If your genes are not functioning in a way because you don't even know how, because no one's ever taught you and you've never had a good genetics test run, if you don't know how to play those cards that God gave you, oh, honey, you're at a disadvantage. You're going to lose that game. Okay? That's your hand that God gave you to play your poker game. And you don't even know what they are? You don't even know what your cards are? It's pretty important. The science that we have available today says that your chronic illness, people, I know this is going to blow your mind. You think that your chronic illness is about 50% genetic because your mom had it and your dad had it and your grandma had it, and right? And your Aunt Josie has it. You know what the science says? 2%. 2%. That's the percentage that it's genetic between you and your mom or you and your Aunt Josie. 2%. Now, it can get as high as 10% in some people, but that's rare, okay? The science is very clear on that. 2% genetic. The rest of it, what do you think it is? Everything else in the environment. How you're eating, how you're thinking. What are your what are your spiritual practices? What are your emotional practices? What are your sleep habits? What are you eating? How many toxins are you exposed to? What's your gut health like? Why is it one way as opposed to another way? And how do you fix that? Okay, there are so many different root causes that you need to figure out what those are for you. Again, with the advanced scientific testing that we have here, it's about 3 weeks and you'll have your answer. And then you can start taking control, real control over those underlying root causes, not just, well, let's learn how to fix your thyroid, okay? Your thyroid is an end result symptom, and your hormones and your thyroid going off are an end result symptom of the chronic inflammation caused by the real underlying root causes. And that is the level that you need to be working at, the genetic and the cellular level. Okay? It's very important. And if you don't fix those things first, if you don't strengthen the way your genes function, if you don't strengthen the way your cells function, if you don't give your cells everything they need, give your genes everything they need, make sure those little mitochondrial cells inside of all your cells have everything they need. If you don't do that first, and then you start taking all these different protocols to kill off bad bugs, or to kill your Lyme disease, or kill the virus, or fix the vaccine overload, or fix the toxic overload, or whatever it is, you're just going to continue to have your symptoms. You're doing it backward. And that's why we also do training here for doctors and nurses and chiropractors and those who are practicing functional medicine, because scientifically, sadly, doctors and nurse practitioners and chiropractors are too busy and they don't have the time to learn the science, right? Again, another reason why you need a scientist on your healthcare team, because we're the ones who are obsessing over this stuff. We're the ones who, we're in the literature every day. We're obsessing over this. We're learning every little detail we possibly can about this, right? And when you have a practitioner who does obsess over you and your personal data, that's where you can really get the best results. And doesn't that just make sense to you? That if you work at a very specific, personal, targeted way that is not leaving anything out, that is helping you at the root cause level, at the most foundational level that we know how in 2026 to do, which works. It's just amazing what we can do now for people. Doesn't that just make a lot more sense than just working with someone to clean up your gut, or just working with someone or just, learning how to change your diet? Because those things just aren't enough by themselves. You really have to know exactly what your particular root causes are, and then work at that level in order to get your health back. And yeah, okay, you got to do some work. You've been sick for a while. You got to do some work. But man, I'll tell you what, the motivation and the excitement that you feel when you know what's causing your illness and you actually know how to go about fixing it because you've got help with this, your whole life starts to change. Your mood starts to change. You're on the right path. You're aligning with God's design and with his science for your body. And it's just a beautiful thing. You know, I had a woman come to me, and she had been told by not only some really well meaning doctors who specialized in female hormones, um, but also she, got sucked into the algorithm because she watched so many different podcasts about female hormones that she was totally 100% convinced that her entire problem, the whole reason why she had her autoimmune disease, her thyroid disease, she was developing MCTD, she had SIRS and MCAS, and that was a recent development for her. She had so many different labels and health conditions and, a myriad of different symptoms. And she honestly believed 100% that it was all hormones. And it was all hormones. It was nothing else. It was all hormones. And so she'd been stuck in this, even though she'd been working hard. She'd been doing the protocols for her hormones. She had the Dutch test. She had all the good stuff. And yet it wasn't enough. It only got her from California to Nebraska. She got stuck in Nebraska. She didn't get to New York yet. And we're going to be helping her to get to New York now, because now we're going to be doing the testing that's going to be helping her to see exactly how to get from Nebraska to New York. And so I hope that makes sense to you, because this is what changed everything for me. And I know I'm going along. So, I planned on this to be about a 2-hour meeting today. And so I'm almost at that point. But I want to be able to help you to take the next step now, if you're ready. You're not ready? Come back next Sunday. Let's talk some more, because I have just got so much to teach you. And I have promised the Lord that I'm going to be here in these Sunday meetings for you. And as they get rolling and we get more and more people in here, and I want to be able to open the floor and answer your personal questions for you. Of course, you can always send questions to us here at our clinic. Our number here is 760 460 4349. And we're always happy to get on a quick call with you and talk to you about, questions and things. And of course, we make everything just as affordable as we possibly can for people. So if you need a full, if you need a full consult, well, let me just go next, and I'll tell you about that right now. So I want to make sure that before we end today in the next, 15 minutes or so, unless I start talking to people and answering questions, which I just might do for a little while, I want you to know that there's a couple of different ways that you can move forward right now if you're ready and you want to do something more about your health. I know that if you've been listening to me for this long, that something has sparked your emotions and you realize that, yeah, maybe she's right. Maybe there is something more that I can do. And you can feel that this might very well be God's answer for you. And I know it's God's answer. I just know it is, because not only walking through my own healing, but helping so many people to do this. I will tell you, the only thing that stops people from getting well is what's going on inside of your head. And if you believe that you're incurable, you will be incurable. And so one of my main purposes that I promised the Lord that I would do in these Sunday healing meetings is just keep telling you that you're not broken. that people are healing from really bad things all the time, and that you really can do this too. There really is so much more for you to learn, and you can do this. Um, so I hope to be able to give you in the coming weeks. Of course, I have lots of things to give you, but I've got all the science and books, and I'm just there's just so much. There's just so much. We're just going to have a lot of fun together. You keep coming to my Sunday meetings, so please do come. Please share the link. It's at www.risehealchallenge.com. Share it with your friends. Go on our Instagram. It's just at the Autoimmune Geek. Go on our YouTube channel. That's just my name, Dorinda Smith. Um, and, share things, promote this message, bring your friends into the Sunday meeting because, I'd love to have you. I'd love to talk to you, and I'd, love to get to know people and just, I believe that every single person that God lets be in the sound of my voice, I'm just, I'm planting seeds that God told me to plant. And I'm watering those seeds for you. And, ultimately, it's the Holy Spirit and it's God who is going to strengthen you and who is going to help you to heal. It's God and it's the Holy Spirit who is working in you, right? For everything that He created you to be. It's not me, right? I'm just a conduit doing the Lord's work. I'm just helping. I'm just teaching. I'm just giving you the knowledge, right? Ultimately, your healing is between you and God. And that's why I say, don't believe the lies. Start learning some of this new science. And so that's what I want to help you with right now. If you're ready to step up and do something else, I got a couple of really cool things for you. First, I want you to make some kind of a decision, whether it's a decision just to come back to my Sunday meeting next week and learn more, or whether it's a decision to, take advantage of a couple of things that I have for you today at a super, super low cost that anybody can do. Whatever you choose to do not do nothing. Okay? Because you have a responsibility now. You're in the sound of my voice, which means the Lord has spoken something over your life that is a truth, which means you can't ignore it. Well, you could if you wanted to, but that would be kind of stupid. Right? At least learn more. Okay? At least continue learning, but don't do nothing. Don't bury your head in the sand, right? Because that's not wise. Because there is so much that the Lord has for you, way more than you just languishing in chronic illness and suffering for really no good reason, except that Satan wants you stuck there. Okay? There is so much more that God has for you. That's what He's taught me these last 10 years. And the last couple of years have just been a whirlwind. It's like, I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you the spiritual battles that I have been through and all the things that the Lord has taught me through those lessons of the bottom line is that there's so much more. There is so much more. And so please don't limit yourself. Take a step in the right direction. Okay? And so your bottom line question is, well, maybe Dory healed and maybe some of her clients can heal, but not me. Right? That's what's going on in your head oftentimes, because I know I had those same feelings too when I was first learning. It's just normal that you would feel that way. But the deeper question is you need to get past that. Okay? Listen to me. Listen to me as a woman who's done it. Okay? You need to get past that. Don't let fear stop you from taking the key, turning the lock, and walking out the door into a better place. You do not need to be stuck in the cage that Satan has you in right now. Okay? I got a key. I have a couple of keys, okay, that you can get started on right away. Okay? So, I want to speak to you very specifically. These keys can get you started. You can stick the key, turn it, open the door, and walk into a better place. At least walk out of the cage. Start coming into 2026 in the age where we have amazing new science that can actually help you. And you are not stuck in the big pharma roller coaster ride anymore. Walk out of that cage. Get mad about it. And I'm not saying give up all your big pharma. Okay, that can be dangerous. Please don't hear me say that. I don't want people to, throw all their pharmaceuticals out the window and make yourself sick by doing that, okay? There's a way in order to get off of your big pharma, okay? And there's a right way of doing that, and there's a wrong way of doing that. So please don't just give up your big pharma because you can make yourself sick. But for crying out loud, don't just stay stuck in that cage, okay? So let me give you some keys. I got 2 keys, okay? Because there's a couple of different types of people here today, okay, who are listening to me or who are watching this in a video at some point, okay? There's the type of person who is just, wow, this is all brand new to me. I never really heard about functional medicine, or I have a lot of negative connotations about it. And I'm like, what? Like I was in the beginning when I just went, yeah, whatever, and you just need to learn more. Okay. Then for that type of person, just come to my Sunday healing meetings and learn more for free. Okay. I'm going to be here every Sunday. It's my commitment I made to the Lord, and it's my commitment to help people like you. And so come back every Sunday. Okay. Or I also have the next level. Okay. And so if you're thinking, well, I just want to learn more about this first. I want to get more of an education. I kind of like what I'm hearing so far, and it's intriguing, and I'm excited about it, but I'm still scared, and I don't want to throw all my eggs into this basket. I just want to be cautious, and I don't want to do anything stupid, and I want to learn, right? If you're that person, awesome. I'm really glad you're here, okay? And if you're thinking that you want to learn what the framework is, you want to learn what some of those root causes are, what some of the steps are, the specific steps, the baby steps, and maybe some of the bigger steps that you would need to take in order to truly make this happen and get your health to a much better place where you're rocking and rolling and you're killing it in life, right? And you just want to start taking some of those steps to get your energy back, then this is for you, okay? I have my Rise and Heal Challenge. It's a 3-day education where you're going to come and you're going to be with me for about an hour a day. And yes, I do run long. I always do, okay? So you're going to get a lot of good training in those 3 days. I'm also going to give you a specific protocol that's going to work directly at the first level of care that you need, which is your mitochondrial health. And you will learn all about that when you come to the Rise and Heal Challenge, okay? Because there's so much to teach you. I just don't have time to take. You got to come get some more education, right? There's a lot to learn. And you need to know that if you don't work at the mitochondrial level, you're always going to be missing something. It's a critical part of your health, and it really is what scientists are saying now is one of the very first steps people need to take care of their mitochondria first if they are going to get anywhere with any of their other, health practices that they have, right? If your mitochondria are screwed up, then you are not creating enough energy. And if you don't have enough energy, no work in your body is going to get done efficiently. It's kind of like putting gas in your car. No gas, and you're not going anywhere. And it's the same thing with your body. And, there's a lot of science behind that. And I want to give you that science in a full program. And I also have a new ebook that's attached to that. It's called Why You're Still Sick. I want to give you that as part of this program. I want to give you the program, and I want to give you an awesome protocol as part of that program as well. And so this is, granted, it is an easy step that people can start taking for their health. It's the very first step that you must take in order for all your other health practices to really work at the level that you want them to. It's an important, critical, missing step that most people are missing. And so I want to start you off there. Okay. And so we can do that for 27 bucks. Okay. 27 bucks. That's less than the price of a supplement. That's less than the price of the magnesium that you should be taking. Right. And so, go, and I will give you the link in just a minute, and I will put it in the chat for you, and you can go to that link, get your seat for 27 bucks, be part of that education, get the program, get the protocol, get the free ebook, learn some stuff, right? And it will be a huge help to you. And then you will not be one of the people running around missing this most important, critical first step to getting your health back. And it's only 27 bucks. Okay. Now, if you are the person who, all right, you've been hearing about this for a while, you've already learned a lot about precision healthcare, you know that the people you're working with maybe only got you to Nebraska, and you really do want to go to New York, and you're sick and tired of being stuck in Nebraska, and you're really ready to go to New York right now, then I've got the next level. And again, it's easy, it's affordable, you can do it, anybody can do it, because I want to make sure, as part of our Christian ministry here, that the barrier of money does not get in the way to you becoming everything that God created you to be. Okay. So that's why we created these inexpensive levels of care that are critical, that people miss, even when they spend thousands and thousands of dollars. They miss these critical puzzle pieces, these basic, bottom line, fundamental things that they absolutely must do. Okay. Otherwise, everything else in your health plan, it's not going to work the way you want it to. This is one of the reasons why you're stuck in Nebraska right now. Okay. And so for you people, what I would love to do is I would love to put you in a simple program. And now I'm not talking about, years and years of, okay, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is a first step actual program where you're working with me and my team directly, where you are actually getting a full root cause analysis, where you're going to be able to sit down with me. We're going to go over all your lab testing and, all your history. And we're going to take a couple of hours. We're really going to dive deep. We are going to identify those root causes. We're going to give you a plan of action moving forward so that you don't waste money on testing, that you only get the tests that you absolutely need. And I'm not talking about diagnostic tests, because that's a waste of your time. And you need to know that through some of the education that we give you in our programs. The diagnostic tests are only labeling you and giving you big pharma, which is actually killing you. You do not want that. Trust me. You want to do the testing that identifies your root causes and then teaches you how to take care of those root causes so you no longer have your disease label anymore and you no longer need big pharma anymore. That's the goal, as close as we can possibly get to it. That is our goal. Okay. And so, for you guys who are ready to step up and you're ready to do that first level program, um, again, you're going to get the root cause analysis. You're going to have one on one time with me and my team. You're also going to have a group meeting every month. You're going to have a messaging service that's HIPAA compliant, that's private, that you can get in there with a full community of other people where everybody's working on the same step together. And it's a missing puzzle piece that most people miss. And so it's super, super important that you get this right before you move on and start doing other health practices and start trying to correct other things. And again, you need to make sure that you work with someone who can identify your root causes quickly and easily. Okay. And so that's what we do here. We're a one-stop shop. We have access to all the advanced testing, and we're going to make it as affordable for you as we possibly can. And so for those people, if you're one of those and you're really sick and tired of wandering, you're sick and tired of trying this supplement or trying this detox or trying this gut health protocol, and you know that there's more, you know that you want to do this specifically, you don't want to do it randomly anymore, you definitely want to take that key, turn it, walk out of Satan's cage, and you no longer want to be stuck in Nebraska. You finally want to move forward and get on the right path for you personally, that's targeted only for you. And you want to do that, you can get a precise roadmap from us. And I'm going to tell you the price, and you're probably going to not believe me, but it's true. We have made this program available to people for only $77 a month. Now, if you know anything about functional medicine or precision healthcare, you know that's a steal. And especially when we're identifying your root causes, when we're actually giving you that precise roadmap moving forward that you can follow, and we're identifying those missing puzzle pieces for you that other doctors have missed. So $77 a month. There's no long-term commitments at all. You can come for 1 month, you can come for 3 months, you can come for 10 months or whatever. Doesn't matter to me, right? What matters is that you take the key, whatever key you want, and open the door and walk out. And walk out. And stop being stuck in a ridiculous mess that we know is reversible. That's what matters. That's what matters. And so, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I give you, and I just have to grab those real quick. Oh, and I forgot to tell you something. Oh my goodness. So when you do the $77 a month, I'm going to give you a ticket to the Rise and Heal Challenge. So you're not only going to get everything in the $77 program, but you're also going to get everything in the Rise and Heal Challenge for $27, right? But I'm going to just give it to you for free. So you don't have to pay that extra $27, even though it's nothing. It's a trip to McDonald's, which you shouldn't be doing anyway. So instead of driving through McDonald's or Wendy's, take that $27 or, step it up a little bit. Take $77 and let us give you a whole bunch of awesome value. Let us actually start your healing process where we're not going to miss anything anymore. And we're going to do it in a precise and targeted way that's personalized just for you. We're going to teach you how to do it step by step. And, if you haven't gotten this message so far, first of all, let me hold on before I forget. I have to actually, boom, 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 put these links into the chat. And so I have to copy, and then I have to come over to the chat, and then I'm going to drop them right there. Hope that works. Uh-huh. Okay. And so whether you're watching there's several live stream rooms that are going on right now, or whether you're in one of our rooms here on the Riverside channel, either way, you should be able to see those links. And there we go. Okay. All right. So now, and you just make your decision from there, right? And so I want to thank you. If you've been here with me all this time, we've been going for a couple of hours, which is what I planned on doing, and I'm just a little bit over. But I still want to have some time to answer personal questions for people. I'm happy to stay if anyone wants to stay and get some questions answered. I want to also make sure that if you were here with us, that we make sure and we give you the free gift that I promised to give you if you came and if you stayed today. And so I am going to drop that protocol in for you. Now, this is my 7-day fast flare repair protocol. Now, this is just a simple protocol that pretty much anybody can do, but I always tell people, talk to your doctor before you do, any changes in your diet or in your fasting or, or supplementation. And you can always call us and let us help you with this as well. But I want to give you this flare repair protocol. It really does work. For almost everybody, it really does start working within 7 days. Okay. And so I'm going to copy, and I'm going to also put that into the chat. And this link here, what it does is it takes you to where our protocols live. At least these simple protocols that we put out for people to use, because they're just very helpful. They're just things that everybody needs to learn how to do. So your flare repair protocol, that link takes you into our Fullscript site. And Fullscript is just, it's a practitioner supplement site where you can get 10% off. You can also get free shipping. And these are practitioner grade supplements. These are not, the crappy supplements that you find at Walgreens or Walmart or Costco. Okay. These are the practitioner grade supplements that are at higher dosages, better combinations, things that really work, things that, you're not just buying something and it's, making your urine expensive. Okay. And anytime we recommend supplements here, you don't have to buy supplements really, although they can help to help you feel better faster. It depends on what the person needs. But with this little protocol here, there are a couple of supplements that are attached to our Fullscript that if you choose to purchase them, and you can do that. Or not. You can just follow the protocol without using the supplements, and it'll still work. It just might work a little bit slower, that's all, but it'll still work. So don't feel like you absolutely have to purchase something in order to use that protocol, because you don't. Okay. This is something that I'm giving you for free. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always text or call us at 760-460-4349. Okay. And again, I just want to drop our our website. So, in case you are watching in one of those rooms that are on the live stream, you can please come into our Sunday healing. And so you'll get the reminders and, you get free things and you get bonuses and you get, all this cool stuff if you come into our little system here. And that's at risehealchallenge.com. Super easy, risehealchallenge.com. And I would love it if you would also go to our Instagram, it's at The Autoimmune Geek, or our YouTube is just my name, Dorinda Smith, and or go on our Facebook site. It's The Autoimmune Geek, or the name of our clinic is the Cellular Healing and Longevity Center. And yeah, so there. I did pretty good. I'm only 15 minutes over, but I still want to make sure that if anyone would like to ask any personal health questions, and this is a live broadcast, this is not a private consult. And so if anyone wants to do that, what I want to do is I have a little invite link, and I can copy this link. And then, oh, look at me doing the tech. There. There we go. That's a really long link. But anyway, that link that I just put in, if there's anyone in any of the rooms and you would like to just, I'm happy to take like 15 minutes per person and just answer some of your health questions. Maybe a burning objection that's going on in your head, or maybe something really went wrong with your doctor, or you're really upset about, maybe you worked with a holistic practitioner and and there was something that went wrong or something that confused you, or you just didn't feel like you got the help that you needed or whatever. I would love to talk about that and put the truth into the world rather than you believing a lie, because precision healthcare, functional healthcare, holistic healthcare, it really does work, right? And to be honest, most of the people, I've got a lot of practitioner friends and, all the different training sessions that I go to, and I meet a lot of people. And, for the most part, these people they're beautiful people. They're people who have either been sick themselves and they had to learn the hard way how to heal, and they had to, come out of the confines of conventional medicine, or maybe their children got sick or a family member got sick. And so they had to really work hard to find the answers. And I know that they care about you, you know, and I've never met a functional or a precision provider who didn't really just, you know, I think we're all a little bit different. We've been through some hell, and, we're committed to helping people. And, so if you have had a bad experience, and sometimes I hear about things like that, I want to be able to at least put the truth into the world, and maybe identify maybe some of the things that might have been missing, or maybe some of the ways that, you know, maybe they were taught an old school way that didn't work for you, and maybe they didn't know some of the newer science that could help you. Right? It doesn't mean that they didn't care, that they didn't want to help you, and so part of healing is being able to let go of things that have caused you trauma and pain in the past, and letting go of any bitterness or any unforgiveness, and giving that to the Lord, and allowing him to get in there and heal your heart, and to bring you to a place where you can trust others again, and where you can be vulnerable and actually be willing to do more work to help yourself and to grow, and really just to become more like Jesus, right? Because that's the whole reason why we're all here, in the first place. Is that's why God lets us be here. Otherwise, it would just be a lot more fun just to all go to heaven, and then we could eat all the bread we wanted, and we could just eat pasta all day long and not worry about it. Lots of chocolate and cheesecake and everything else, right? But the truth is, we're still here, and that means we've got some work to do. And it usually means we need to align with God's design in about 10 ways, not just for our health, but, for our emotions, for, um, our level of unforgiveness or anger, any of those things. So, yeah. So, if anybody wants to jump in, um, all you have to do is click on that link, and then that is supposed to let you in here so that I can actually talk to you. But just know that if you do that, you are live, and we are in several different rooms, and who knows who's watching. So if people are brave and they want to do that, great. If you don't, that's cool too, because you can always talk to us behind the scenes. Of course, you can go to the Rise Heal Challenge for only $27, and that also gives you an opportunity to speak with us. And also, of course, the best thing for you to do is just come into our membership. Let us get you started at that $77 a month. And even if you only did it for a month, you would still learn so much in that month, right? And so I just invite you to take a step in the right direction. Do the right thing for your health. Do the right thing to align with God's design for your body and for your emotions, for your spiritual growth, everything that you need, right? Because we don't want you to stay stuck. So, okay. So I see that there's no one brave enough to come on live with me and ask a question for right now, but that's okay. You can always ask a question by calling us or, coming into our Rise and Heal Challenge, of course. You can come back next Sunday and learn some more. I only got through like half my story today. There's a whole spiritual side of my story that I didn't have a chance to talk about. And there's so much more I want to teach you, over the next however many Sundays we do this. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep teaching as long as God tells me to do it. And so I'm really happy to be able to do this with you and for you. And so, all right, I guess I will go ahead and I'll wrap this up because, wow, it's like my time, it's almost 5 o'clock and I'm hungry. I'm going to go make myself something super healthy and yummy to eat. That will be really, really good for my cells. That will give my mitochondria lots of great energy. And then I'm going to relax with my family and I'm going to go to bed early tonight because it's good for me. And I love you guys. Mwah. And I will see you next Sunday, or I will see you in our membership. I hope to see you in our membership, or I will see you at the next Rise and Heal Challenge. All right. Bye, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.